Hello, my name is Marco and I've decided to start a series on YouTube of my adventures, you could call them, through France, through school, through different things, and there are a lot of fun, different little adventures. So I think today what I'll start with is I'll tell you about the time we set fire to the house in France. It was our first day in France, you could say. We'd gotten off the plane, I was exhausted, I just fell asleep, went straight to the house, and it was a house in Courtil in the Burgundy region. There was a little village down there with a school that I went to quite often. There was a little hotel in the village and a little restaurant with really good food. So we got there and it was getting to night time, so with Alex, which is sort of my stepdad, a bit like that. With his sister Sarah, we went over and we went down to the restaurant and we got some delicious puree and chips. We took them back up and we ate those, I guess, and then we just sort of went to sleep for the first night. Now, you might be thinking of, when I say house, you might be thinking of this type of house. Just this modernized house, right? But not in France. No. In France, where we were mainly living until the time came we set the house on fire, we were living in, as I said, Courtil. We were living in a house, right? It had a stony sort of floor, 2 stories, 3 if you count one of the bedrooms that was double-storied. And so in the first room, you'd walk in and there'd be a fire as our heater. On the left, we didn't have any TV, any iPod, Game Boy, anything like that. We had radio. We didn't even have a DVD player, but they had a lot of DVDs. So we went in and we had the fire going, and so that's the first room. Fire, lounge, eating sort of. You'd walk down about 3 steps and you'd come into the kitchen. Now the kitchen had this really big, beautiful glass table. It was a really big kitchen, and they had 3 cats there. One of them was really old and you can only gently pat her on the head, and it was called Noisette. The other one was Woofy, his name was. And he was in the middle of the age, becoming the leader after Noisette, sort of like that. And then we had a really young one named Pistache, and for some reason I just like to call it Pistachio. But anyway, we had the cat food in one area of the kitchen and all that, and then you'd walk straight down the stairs in the kitchen, and then you'd turn right, and you go straight and there'd be a toilet. Now the toilet there was not your average toilet. Their toilet there was, you had to get a bucket and fill up the back part of the toilet, and because the lid was off it, we had to fill up the water all the time. We had no hot water at this house as well, just so you know. And so, also, I just had to go to the toilet. No, anyway, getting out of the toilet, if you turned right, you would enter this beautiful boutique, which is like a shop. And this was just the downstairs part. The upstairs part of the boutique was full of clothes and stuff, but the downstairs was filled with really beautiful items. There was really beautiful glass vases and candles and cups, and they were just all antique, you know? So if you went upstairs, you would get to the clothes area. And they'd have a few other things in there, but there were beautiful clothes. Mainly girls though, so you wouldn't really have much luck if you were a guy. But they were really high quality clothes. Mum's got a few of them back, and she bought back this really beautiful red leather jacket, and it was just so good. So we went to sleep. This is continuing the fire story. That was the downstairs of the house. Then you went upstairs. If you went back in the lounge room, you would find white wooden stairs. You would climb up them to get to the upstairs, of course. If you went straight in the upstairs, you go to the shower, which no one showered in, and it looked pretty dirty, and there was no hot water. So, yeah, and you'd have to boil the hot water in the kettle and pour it on. Okay, so then there was another room. It was not really livable, sort of. But then we had Sarah's room. Now, Sarah's room was the biggest. It was a double-story room. It was just mad, Sarah's room. Like, crazy. We had... Alright, so, like, you walk into Sarah's room and you turn left, there's 2 couches and a table and all her DVDs. If you turn right, there's 1 bed. And if you go straight underneath the second floor roof, she would have these things called, they were sort of like French Lego, I guess. I forgot what they were called, but they were like French Lego. I'll search that up and tell you in the next episode. They were like French Lego, sort of. So, but they weren't, it's bugging me that I don't know the name. Anyway. We did have, so you go upstairs and there'd just be this flat mattress, really long flat mattress, and that's where Sarah would sleep. Now upstairs Sarah loved horses, like she even had a pony club, and that will be for a different episode or whatever. So she had lots of horse stuff, and it was really beautiful. So I dozed off in that little bunk, sort of high bed on the right that I told you about earlier. Claudine, which was Sarah and Alex's mum, she went to sleep on the couch for us. And Alex and Mum, Alex wasn't here at the time, like Alex was still in Australia. But Mum was sleeping with me, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And so what we did was, we woke up the next morning. It was Sarah, me, and Mum. Sarah, Mum, and I, sorry. And Claudine had gone out to work because Claudine works in this taxi business. So she would go out and take taxi people and then take them back. So what we did is we went upstairs to the boutique because Sarah, Mum wanted to look at the clothes. And we found a hole in the roof. And it had been raining the night before. So the clothes were wet. Oh, 8 minutes already, whoa. So Mum decided to go downstairs with the wet clothes and put them in front of the fire. So what she did was she opened it up and started a fire, put the clothes on some chairs, and Mum didn't know at the time, like, you know how some doors you have to bend them down to open instead of just pushing them open or sliding them open? Yeah, that was the sort of, with the fire, like you have to yank that sort of handle down like that, and it would sort of let's move over a bit. It would sort of it was sort of one of those handles where you had to pull them down, and so Mum didn't know that, and Sarah didn't tell Mum at the time. So we went back upstairs and started looking through the curtains again. And suddenly I said, Mum, I think I smell smoke. Sarah bolted downstairs and she looked into the lounge room. It was flames. Like, I don't know how it was so big, but it was flames. Sarah bolted out the back door. So I'll tell you about the backyard. Backyard was a small yard with pebble walkway and trees surrounding it, sort of. So you had privacy in the backyard. And then there was a grass area, and Claudine would stack her wood in one area, and there'd be another entrance to the boutique and some buckets for the toilet, of course. And sometimes we'd leave the buckets out there and let the water freeze, and like come back and have ice later. So Sarah bolted out. She climbed the fence and ran screaming fire, and went to the neighbors and like fire, fire. And so what we did was straight away I grabbed buckets, instinctively. And what I did with the buckets was obviously filled them up with water, icy cold water. But unfortunately, the tap pulled out water so slow. By the time Mum wanted another bucket, the bucket was filled that much out of that. So all I did was I was just filling up buckets after buckets after buckets, and Mum would run down into the kitchen. She would grab the buckets and pour them on the fire. Sarah came back while me and Mum were putting out the fire with some neighbours. So, now the fire was half out and the other half was in. One of the neighbours walked in, looked at the fire, said, didn't bother to help take buckets and put out fire, and walked back out. Well, me and Mum were still fighting the fire. Sarah ran back in and she started to grab buckets and move them up a bit more, so Mum didn't have to run all the way. And eventually we did get the fire out, and by the time the fire brigade was there, he was just amazed, and Mum couldn't speak to him, and he couldn't speak to her. Yeah, and before the fire brigade came, I decided, maybe 5 minutes before the fire brigade came, I said, it might be good enough to go upstairs now and open a few windows. I was wrong. Dead wrong. It was pitch black. I couldn't see anything. I didn't even make it halfway up the stairs before deciding I did not want to go up there. So the fire brigade got there. Claudine came home, and we ended up having to move to a little town called Boone, still in the Burgundy region. If you search up Dijon and then Boone, you'll find it. We lived in a small apartment, but it was really comforting, like sort of at home. And I guess that's sort of where I'm going to leave it at this episode, because that was it. Tell me if you liked. Just leave in the comment below if you liked the video, and if you want more adventures, not just of France, but like I'll have heaps of different sort of adventures to tell you. And please leave a comment and do subscribe if you haven't done so already. I know this is my first video, so it might be pretty bad, but I will improve later. So, as they say, I'm not Yvonne, okay? I'm pretty sure the account says Yvonne, but I'm actually Marco. So, oh yeah, there's my mum out. And so, I'm going to end the episode here, and I might actually do 2 episodes in one night, but, probably not. I'm going to end this, publish this on YouTube, and if I have enough time, make another video. Thank you for watching, and Marco out.